whenever something gets adapted from one medium to another, the transition is never going to be one-to-one. Some things don't work from one art form to the other. So how do you create something that is faithful to the original material, keep the fans happy, and let those that aren't familiar with the original material feel included? We're talking about Arcane. What's up, everybody? Welcome to 3VO, where we're all on the same team. I'm your host today, Jordan.
And I'm your other host, Brendan.
And if you're new here, then we are just two big old nerds that absolutely love video games so much that we had to just start yelling about it on a podcast. So if you two have that same loud enthusiasm for video games as we do, this is definitely the place for you. We're going to be talking about the Netflix title Arcane today. But before we get into all that, as usual, let's go and check in. Hey, Brendan.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm good. I've been playing a lot more video games recently.
Awesome.
Actually.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
I know. Yeah, I've been playing. So I picked up a new game called Tunic, which is like just straight up Legend of Zelda, but make it a fox.
I was going to say, saw it for the stream, and it reminded me of like...
Yeah. No, totally. So I'm enjoying that. It's very difficult, though. It's like a bit more difficult than a Legend of Zelda title. It's not as hand-holdy, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. I also likened it to Elden Ring because I'm dying a lot.
Right.
So I'm doing that. I have kind of put Elden Ring down. I think that I don't have the mental fortitude to play Elden Ring.
To keep going with something like that?
At this point, no.
Right.
Garrett's playing through it and is wildly good at it.
Okay.
And I'm wildly impressed, but I don't have the patience or the mental fortitude to get through it. I get sad.
Oh, you can just get sad?
Yeah, I'm like, why is it so hard?
I think with stuff like Elden Ring, it kind of falls in line with stuff like where Assassin's Creed kind of got for a while, or it started to get to where it was like, by like game 7 or 8, even though it's not like a continued series like Assassin's Creed, but by game like 7 or 8, the game kind of went like, it's Assassin's Creed. Like, you should know by now, like, kind of what the basics of the mechanics are. I feel like Elden Ring kind of falls in line where it's kind of like, listen, we're assuming you've played either a Dark Souls or a Bloodborne or something at this point. So, like, and those never held your hand. So I feel like now they're definitely not going to hold your hand anymore.
Yeah, I think it does have... I think that does have, like, a part that is playing in it, definitely. Which is kind of hard for new players.
Right.
But it's okay. It's fine. I just put it down. I'll walk away.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with going, hey, I need to put this down for a little bit and walk away.
Yeah.
I did that with an old-ass game. I stepped away from Final Fantasy X for a long-ass time, and now I'm jumping back into it.
Nice, yeah.
Might be walking away from it again, though.
Yeah. Might be putting that right back down.
Yeah, I got to another section where I'm just like, I don't know what you want me to do for this.
No, it's not an elemental thing, right? It's not that old trap of elemental weaknesses and resistances. Right?
No. I've got that down, and that is now being used to my advantage.
Excellent. Good. I just want to make sure you have every tool at your disposal.
No. It's not that. It does this really annoying thing where, like, normally it does the video gamey thing of, like, before you go into a boss fight, there's a save point you can hit before you head in. And it's like, okay, cool. And I'm like 10% away from the end of the game at this point, I think. And right before going to a major boss fight, they had a save point, but then you step into this world, there's like this other like weird ethereal realm where you have to collect these crystals that keep showing up, but there's also these ice spikes that keep jumping up that get in your way, and if you run into them, you have to go into what's basically a different boss encounter, and then after you get through that, there's no save point before you get to the actual boss you're going to fight, so it's just like... And the setup for it is, the camera angle is terrible. The mechanics for it are bad. It was not, it's a Japanese RPG. It was not made to be like a run around dodge shit kind of game. But they just threw it in because I guess they got bored at the end of the game. I don't fucking know.
Have you tried not getting hit by the spikes?
Yes! But when they just go, here I am! On you out of nowhere. Apologies to audio listeners.
Well, yeah, you might have to put it down, but that's okay. Sometimes we need to have the strength to walk away from something and say, I can't do this.
So would you say that maybe Tunic kind of sits somewhere in that middle ground between a Zelda title and like more of a Dark Souls or like Elden Ring sort of like.
Well,
area?
I wouldn't liken it to Dark Souls at all.
Right, okay,
if we're being
okay.
honest, like
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
It's.
You're just dying a lot.
I'm just dying a lot. I'm sure that there are people out there way more successful than me, but I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my touch.
I don't think that's it.
I don't know.
I find especially a new game, any new game I pick up, I have like a very steep difficulty curve for like, even if it's a mechanic I'm familiar with. Mm-hmm. It takes me a while to get used to just kind of like, okay, what does this game want me to do? Yeah. Like specifically, so I don't know. I think, and especially if it's not really holding your hand.
It's really not.
Yeah, then I think that like, I think you're allowed to give yourself some time.
I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I could go in here, but I don't know if I'm supposed to yet. But it's letting me go through, but I feel like I'm not ready. I'm like very confused.
Oh, I see.
You know, because it's not holding my hand and like telling you like, you know, there's not like the old woman who's like, go to the shore, you know, or whatever.
Right.
So I've got like places I could go, but I just keep dying at all of them.
So it's just going to start you off and says, here's a sword, go.
Not even that, no.
Oh, goodness.
It starts you off on a beach, you go a little ways, and then it says, here's a stick.
Oh, God.
Go.
I don't. The original Zelda, you walked into a cave and a man handed you a sword. Why are we doing this? Why are we still doing this shit with the stick?
Literally, you wake up on the beach, just like Link's Awakening.
Uh-huh.
You wake up on a beach, you go up a little bit, there's a cave, and I was like, aha, there'll be a man in here or something that says, here, take this, right? Expecting a sword. I walk in, and it's a fucking stick. A stick, Jordan!
Like, what am I gonna fucking do with this thing?
Not a whole lot. It does give you a real sword pretty early on.
Okay.
But not as early as I would like. Meanwhile, there's bad guys like shooting bullets and stuff at you.
While you're running around with a stick.
While you're running around with a stick. And no shield, yeah.
So completely ill-prepared.
Completely ill-prepared. I'm just a little fox. I ain't ready to do no battle.
I will say, I did get to watch the clips that got put out for that episode. The aesthetic is very cute.
It is very cute. I love that art style. And
I was going to say, the look is 100% up your alley.
Absolutely. Which is why I was like, this art style and Legend of Zelda vibes, I'm in. But it's hard. I think I need to swallow my pride and look up a little bit of help, maybe.
Oh, God, yeah. I gave up on that whole fucking train of just like, I'm going to do it on my own fucking ages ago.
Yeah, no, I'm very proud, so it's hard.
Oh, you never played Resident Evil.
I did not.
Sections where it's just kind of like, and even once you also never played a Metal Gear Solid games back in the day.
I did not.
Where it's like there's shit you have to do outside of the game.
Yeah, like you have to like switch your memory pack and shit. Like what?
Yeah, it's the famous ones are literally having to take your back in the day, kids. Controllers weren't wireless. You had to keep them connected to your TV screen.
Don't ostracize our young listeners.
I know. And there was the literal mechanic of just kind of like having to take it from the player 1 port and put into player 2 and then play.
Yes.
The one that I fucking hated was that there was somebody you had to call in the game. You have like a radio like system in the game.
Yeah.
There's someone you had to call in the game and you didn't know, but the game doesn't tell you what like their number is to call on the radio, like what frequency to go into. It's in like the player manual that came with the game. You had to look it up in there. Yeah, no fucking joke.
Well, I would have been fine. I always read the manuals cover to cover.
I see that there's something cool in it. Like they used to do like, I miss those when like they would do like character backgrounds and like here's what this weapon does and stuff. And that shit was fun to look into. Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I have been playing video games. I also start a new job soon.
Woo!
That's very exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I am so mentally checked out of my current job.
Right, I get that. I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah. They did some petty stuff. I'll tell you off camera.
Gotcha. Yeah, don't need to air all the dirty laundry on camera.
But I have a new job that I'm very much looking forward to. It's a tech company. They develop a software that is used by law firms.
Ooh, okay.
And that is very exciting.
That's cool.
They're like pretty teeny tiny. But recently they received a large investment from a company that I understand.
Okay.
So they're growing and they offer like the number 1 or the number 2 like product for this industry depending on who you ask.
Okay, nice.
Like the number 1 or number 2. So yeah, very exciting. Yeah, I hope I do good over there.
I think you will.
Thanks. What's going on in Jordantown?
Oh boy. So I know sometimes I don't come in with the most fun of news for everybody, but
I'll get the soap.
Yeah, let's just. This is very much less of a soapbox moment. It is more just something that was brought to my attention through being a fan of Alana Pierce, to which I will say at the top of this, if you want what I'm about to slightly dive into, if you want more information on it, go to her channel, watch her video. She does a much more extensive deep dive into what we're about to talk about.
Who is that? That you're sorry.
Alana Pierce. I talked about her before.
Alana
She's online. She's a YouTube personality. She's a writer for Sony video games. She's been on like Funhouse and a bunch of other shit. She was the co-host for the
You don't say.
Oh my god! Fucking the awards thing that I covered last time for disabled gamers.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called, but yeah, for that. She was the other, she was the one that helped, put that whole thing together.
The Accessibility Awards.
The Accessibility Awards. Fucking Christ, thank you. I couldn't remember the word accessibility, and I know that there's, very derogatory, terrible ways that I could have put that whole thing, so I was trying to avoid going down that path.
I understand. The Accessibility Awards.
The Accessibility Awards. Thank you. But yeah, if you want more info on this, I would highly recommend going to her YouTube channel, watching her video. This concerns something that I just found out about, which is an association called the IGDA, International Game Developers Association. They're a nonprofit organization that, according to their website, serves all individuals that create games. They bring together developers at key industry conferences and over 150 chapters and special interest groups to improve their lives and their craft.
That's their mission statement.
That's their basic mission statement.
Well, this sounds like a wholly reputable group.
It's supposed to be a pretty good group. They were also one of the first groups to start calling out Blizzard and Ubisoft when the news was hitting about their harassment and all that stuff and fun stuff there.
Okay.
And there's an article specifically that talks about all this too. That will definitely put a link in. That will definitely put a link in about here. I can't remember the exact name of the site, but it'll be here, and we'll put it in our description for the site and stuff too. I have it in my notes here, so it's all there. But the top of the article states, despite the IGDA's pledge to support victims, it mishandled multiple forms of complaints against its own Women in Game Special Interest Group chair and failed to follow its own policies on how to properly handle such complaints on more than one occasion. So, to kind of condense what happened, there's a woman who's woman named Jennifer Schul, who was the head of the chair for the Women in Game Special Interest Group for the IGDA, who used her position of power for a lot of different horrible shit. There's conversations about sexual harassment, grooming, taking credit for things that she had almost nothing to fucking do with, and also just I don't know how else to put it, but then just general shit talking, starting whisper campaigns to try to degrade and downgrade other women in the business. So even though this is coming from a woman, it's still another example of using power and prowess to take down other women. Not that this would be okay if she was doing this to men, but it's just another example in the way that just kind of the patriarchy can literally come from fucking anybody.
And this is internal inside of IGDA.
Internal inside of IGDA.
This nonprofit organization whose mission is to make it better for everybody out there.
Yeah.
And we're calling out companies like Blizzard, Activision, and Ubisoft.
Yeah, and it's not like they didn't know about it. Going back to 2017, they were getting reports from people, and they just kept telling victims well, this is enough information to open an investigation. We need more. We need more. We need more. And all the way until 2021, when this woman found out about what was happening and stepped down from the organization, something she did at a previous company as well, when they were also doing an investigation against her for similar fucking behavior. This woman has a pattern of abuse, by the way. They were still sending information. It's something
what the hell?
Over, I think I saw was 120 pages worth of diffutation on different reports and things that were going on with her.
Oh, well, that's not enough. You need 150, of course.
Yeah, but that came from but I mean, you're joking, but that came from the first telling people just kind of
so
we need at least this much, and they went, okay, here's more, and they just kept doing it and doing it and doing it.
I'm joking and trying to keep it light, but
no,
that's fucking bonkers.
Yeah, it's insane. It's fucking insane.
Sorry, that is a fucking lie. Is that coming from human resources? I'd like to know, because human resources is only there. Their only job is to make sure that the company doesn't get fucking sued.
Yep. Human resources are not your friend, despite what they're trying to tell you. Mm-mm. They are there to protect the company.
Let that be the one thing that you take away from this episode. Human resources ain't your friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Gamesindustry.biz, by the way, was the site that broke the article to it, which I know kind of sounds like a little generic, like, all right, do we trust these guys? Again, Alana Pierce has her background in journalism, her degree in it, so, and she did her own research and reached out to people. Okay. So I'm like, I'm trusting her on this one, unless something else comes out that's kind of like, nope, all bullshit. For right now, I'm trusting her.
So this lady is holding a position of power, and she has a history of it, and like that didn't come up. Like, did we not vet her at the IGDA?
That's also kind of the thing that goes into it, is that it's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's something that's like she left. I don't know. I didn't mention who her last employer was, but she left when investigations started on her stuff. So I don't know if maybe there's some weird legalese thing where it's like, well, nothing was proven, so therefore you can't bring it up again. I don't know. I'm not saying that would make it okay. I'm just saying that just kind of like, but there should be, at the very end of the day, it looks like a much better
That's crazy.
vetting process. Yeah.
That's so bonkers. Report your shit. HR's not your friend. And any amount of evidence is enough to open an investigation. Keep pushing for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's my message.
Yep. And we're doing, and that's like the basic broad strokes of everything that was going on with that. So again, I encourage everybody, look into this more. This is also not really being talked about right now, which is a bummer.
So crazy.
Considering the climate of just kind of like, and this is a smaller group. Like I said, I've been following video game news for a while now. I didn't know that this organization existed at all. And this was a really shitty way to find out that they do exist, especially considering they're supposed to be trying to help people in the gaming industry.
Yeah. Talk more about, or like briefly about like the like allegations of misconduct, the like they aren't doing their job and like handling complaints to the best of their ability, because that doesn't all fall under this like one person. She's just like a shitty person at that establishment, right?
Yeah.
So like this, so on top of that, this organization that is supposed to be doing a good job and making things better for everybody is just like not.
They're just not, and not only that, but it's just like, it's like the constant just giving the excuse of just kind of like, well, we need more information about this, and we need more about this, and just like constantly telling them like not enough to open an investigation until she was literally on her own fucking leaving, and then just like internally finding out that like people were telling this woman that this shit was going on too. And there was also a report in the article, or a mention in the article about somebody who was involved in the case that was happening, who was reaching out to some of the victims, not to try to help, but to kind of like low-key threaten people and trying to tell them to shut up. So there was also some like attempts to like just hush this thing out as well.
Got it. Okay, but they weren't mishandling things that were happening externally, like with Activision or Ubisoft or something, right?
Sorry, what do you mean?
So this story doesn't extend past this one shitty woman. That is the story.
Oh,
they weren't mishandling things at the other places that they were like investigating or right?
Oh, yes, no. From what I know, this group is not like directly involved in like all other like companies and whatnot. They're just sort of like a nonprofit pipeline to kind of help people get started.
Interesting. Okay. Like that. I thought that there was an extension beyond this one woman, but the one woman is this one.
As far as I know, no. This one woman has worked in like other places, and like that's where it comes into, where it's like taking credit for stuff that other people have done, and just like, you know, hearing just like there's stories, there's stuff in the article, or Alana Pierce talks about too, of just kind of like finding out what was happening and that she was taking credit, and then remembering back to moments of just like hearing people be like, oh yeah, that was blah blah blah's game, and turns out she had like little to nothing to fucking do with it and shit like that.
Got it. I thought that you were maybe communicating that like they were like, I don't know, investigating Blizzard or something, and then people would come and be like, they would be like, oh, you don't have enough evidence.
Oh no, I'm sorry, completely unrelated. Sorry, this was all internal. No,
I get it now.
No, I mentioning that at the top was that this was one of the groups who, when shit about Blizzard and like Ubisoft and stuff broke, they were right there. They were right there going like, "This is terrible. You can't allow this kind of stuff to happen." Blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, they were pushing their own shit to the side as best as they could.
Yeah, I was misunderstanding the extent that they had, but I get it now.
I also may not have explained it very well.
No, I get it. I wanted to make sure it was clear to all the folks out there.
No, and I appreciate that. And like I said, either go look up the article, videogames.biz or whatever it was. Like I said, we'll put it here. Or go watch Alana's breakdown on the whole situation on her YouTube channel. It's really good. And again, just really want to mention it because it's like, it was that article, Alana Pierce's video, and then a Kotaku article that was basically quoting the first article about what was going on has kind of been all that I've seen. And it just like, it seems unfortunate to me right now that it's like, we're only going to like make a news cycle out of it when it's like a really big company like Blizzard or Ubisoft or something like that, but we're not going to talk about something like this. just, I don't know. Just seems like something that as best as we can try to spread more awareness on it, you know? All right. Other than that, though, sorry, hard transition the other way. Like I said, just go look it up on your own. It'll be better that way.
You've been doing things. You've been playing games.
I have, like I said, very hard back into playing Final Fantasy X. For now, we'll see.
While you can stomach it.
While I can stomach it. I love the game, and I've been having a really, really good time with it again. It was just like, you know, like you said, sometimes you just kind of go like, well, I'm done with this for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We'll come back to this later. Especially with something like the way that it is so like basically the system, at least the way it's been working out for me, is that go to a new area, just grind, fight a bunch of monsters over and over and over and over and over again until I get leveled up a bunch. Go fight the boss, move on to next area.
Right.
And just like, wow, it's been great for chilling out, just like listening to podcasts and zoning out for a couple hours. Like it gets repetitive after a while.
Yeah.
And this game's like 15, 20 years old at this point. So I'm trying not to give it too much shit. More than 20 years old. Jesus Christ. Anyway, it was like 2001 or something like that.
So 21 years old?
21 years old. It's 21 years old. I'm old. Anyway, that's kind of been the main thing that I've been really doing as far as like video games go. I don't think there's really been too much else going on as far as like just things trying to keep myself entertained in my life.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, if that's what you're doing, if Final Fantasy X is it, then that is it.
That's really it. I don't really bounce around between games too much. I kind of need to just like focus on like one, get through it, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Which means I constantly have a back catalog of shit that I just like haven't gotten a chance to play yet.
Right. I understand. I try not to do that too, because I don't know. I'm like I gotta focus on one thing and like, get through that. Like I can't like read multiple books at the same time or watch like multiple shows at the same time.
My fucking wife will have like 3 or 4 books going at a time, and I don't understand how she keeps it all.
My brain would get so crisscrossed, like.
It's so, like, it was a, fucking, I'll tell this story at some point on a stream or something like that, but I was Santa Claus a few years back, for you know, like, the like, how you see it. Like,
like for the children.
Yeah, like for the kids.
I was having a real hard time imagining what you were talking about. Because we just been talking about your wife, and then you said, well, one year I was Santa, and I you know, no judgment, but...
You just got married, all right? You don't understand. You'll do whatever you can to keep your spouse happy, all right?
Absolutely. I'm not... I don't disagree.
No, it was for, like...
A
friend with like a seasonal job for Toys R Us when that was alive, R.I.P. Where it was just like, and it was like how you see it, like you go sit in the chair, kids come up, they tell you what they want for Christmas, picture with the family, But there was like hours of downtime between like, you know, like appointment, because it was appointment based for the most part. So there was hours of downtime, and I read 2 books throughout the whole course of while I was doing that. I did The Martian, and then I started this book series called Chaos Walking. Both very, very different tones, and I wasn't reading them simultaneously. I went from one to the other, and even just like going from like the more lighter comedic tone of The Martian to this one that's like kind of apocalyptic was just like, that gave me enough whiplash. So I can't even imagine how some people like do that shit where it's kind of like, yeah, I'm reading this and this and this and this and this. I'm just like, how the fuck do you keep all that in mind?
No. My husband does the same thing with like anime. He'll be watching he's probably watching like a dozen different animes at the same time at any given time. Yeah. And I'm just like, how?
Well, TV shows, it's a little different for me. No, like, I can bounce them back and forth a little bit better between TV shows and stuff like that. You gotta go through one and then move on to the next thing.
One and the one we're getting through right now, you're gonna be very excited about this. We started watching Vox Machina. It's very good.
Isn't it awesome? It's just such a good time.
It's really, really good.
Like, it's every single trope you've ever seen in fantasy or animation, but it's all done insanely well.
Yes.
Insanely well.
And I love that it's voiced by, like, them, you know? That's so cool. And then, like, a bunch of other, like, voice actor stars.
Incredible voice actors.
Incredible voice actor stars. Like, Felicia Day, Cree Summer. I mean, Matthew Mercer, of course, but like he's part of the cast. And there was somebody else, but yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, when I saw the credits the first time, I was just like, this is amazing.
It's a cool one to go through.
Oh, Grey Griffin, that's the other
yes,
one.
yes,
Yeah, Grey Griffin.
It's a cool one to go through. Well, it's also like you're talking about Critical Role, which is their intro is watching a bunch of nerdy ass voice actors play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's like that cast is like some of the best people in the voice acting fucking business. Like 2 of them have BAFTAs. At least 2 of them have BAFTAs. I know Ashley Johnson and Laura Bailey each have BAFTAs. I know, right? Alright, so now that all that's done and out of the way, we're going to be switching gears on the show a little bit today. We're not directly talking about a video game, but a TV show based off a video game. We're talking about Netflix's Arcane. Just to give a little bit of a briefing on it, so the basic plot of Arcane is that amid the stark discord of twin cities Piltover and Zon, 2 sisters fight on rival sides of a war between magic, technologies, and clashing convictions. So, you might be asking, Jordan, why are we talking about Arcane? This is a video game podcast. Well, shut your fucking mouth, Brendan, and I'll tell you, alright? Jesus Christ. So rude. See, I really want to talk about this because in my experience, sorry about
You're good.
Is that for the most part, in my experience with any time a video game gets adapted into a new form, basically video game to TV show or less TV shows, but more movies, they're not good.
Don't tell us how you really feel.
No, okay, then specifically talking about you, Resident Evil. What the fuck? How did you go off the rails? It took you 2 movies to just completely go off the fucking rails on your own shit there.
Alright, bring me back
in.
We're a positive podcast.
Yeah. But with all that in mind, with everything that I've seen as far as adaptations goes, Arcane kind of stands as a very shining example that you can, from what I know anyway, you can make some major changes to the original source material, but still be faithful and be accepted by the original fans, but make it palatable to people who aren't as familiar with the material. So I just really wanted to take a podcast to discuss like what it is that makes Arcane such a good adaptation. Yeah. So just to give a little bit more background to me personally I know shit about League of Legends.
Me too.
Like I literally know absolutely nothing about it. Which is why it was funny to me that you were the one who was kind of like, have you seen Arcane yet? You gotta watch this show. Because I passed it up because I was like, League of Legends, it's probably not going to be for me. I'm not going to care that much about it. But when you were like, I don't know shit about League of Legends either, and it's one of my favorite fucking things, I was like, okay, if somebody else who isn't a fan of this thing thinks it's a really good show, I should give this thing a shot.
Yeah. And aren't you glad you did?
I'm so... it's one of the best things on television that's coming out. That's come out in a long time.
I agree. I can't speak highly enough about it. It's incredible. The story, great. The animation, incredible. The cinematography,
it's gorgeous.
Outstanding. Oh, it's so good. So good.
It's so fucking good. Yeah, that's the thing too, was that like I don't know. It was just like beyond, just like and that's the thing is like everything about it works really, really well together, and everything is sort of there's no missed hit. Like nothing feels out of place. Nothing feels like it's kind of a weird like part of the world. Even when they do some like really far out shit as far as like the visuals and stuff goes. Like I was hanging out with our buddy Pierce recently, and he likened it that just like each episode is sort of taking like a different music video style aesthetic to it in certain moments and whatnot.
Whoa.
Like specifically for moments like like this, like we'll just briefly talk about like some favorite moments here then, but just like with the scene with Echo's little fight with Jinx.
Yes.
The color palette changes and the song that kicks in there. It's like that is very like that's very like old, not old school, but that's very like hip hop music video kind of style too, which is really really cool and interesting. Like like industrial hip hop, I would say more than anything else, but like it just takes such bold moves with the aesthetic. It's just it was just the best way that I think I heard it put was somebody online said Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse walked so Arcane could run.
Yes.
And I was just like, yeah, I totally see that because it does such similar things, but in its own completely different way.
Completely bizarre and so cool and compelling way.
Yeah, whereas like where Into the Spider-Verse is clearly more like big and like pop flashes and just,
Yeah,
just like
comic
super
book.
comic booky.
Yeah, comic book,
This
yeah.
is like industrial, like grungy, like kind of a look to it.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really cool.
You mentioned the music. The music is incredible.
I just listened to the soundtrack. I listen to the soundtrack all the fucking time.
So
It's
good.
such a good soundtrack.
It's so good.
What's your favorite song? Do you have one?
Playground is really good.
Playground is awesome. I love that song.
Playground is so good.
But I really liked, is it B or Bay Miller, the artist?
B. Miller.
I liked B Miller before the show, so as soon as I saw that she was on it, I was like, oh, this track's gonna be fucking dope.
Yeah. The like main theme that they use, Enemy by Imagine Dragons, also really good.
No, it's also really, really good.
Really good.
Just not shocking anybody that you like an Imagine Dragons songs.
Not terribly surprising to anybody. I mean, they've like
not that I'm talking shit. Imagine Dragons is an incredible band.
Right.
Like, they're insanely good.
Yeah. But like I the whole soundtrack's really great. The whole aesthetic of the show is incredible.
Gorgeous looking.
Gorgeous. The colors are like, are those new colors? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like did they redo them? Are those brand new? Because these colors are so pretty and so, I don't know. It feels like you're almost drawn in because the color.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but like when they're looking at like the like bright purple like drug.
Yeah.
And stuff. It just feels like you're being pulled in a little bit because the color is so captivating.
Yeah, well, there's no... this show is the perfect example to me of, like, how they talk about in film of, like, try to make every frame a painting.
Oh, yes.
You could pause any shot in the show and print it out and put it on your wall. Absolutely. And people would be like, where the fuck did you get that?
Yes.
Like, it's speaking of which, I did a little bit of research looking into, like, the art style of it and whatnot. And it's an actual animation style that's called... It's an actual term in art, and I never know how it's called. It's either matte or mate. It's Matte. It's matte? Okay. Matte. Which my wife, who is a huge fan of just, like, painting and artwork and whatnot, I told her that was what about, and she was like, interesting, because that normally has to do with, like, layering a painting. Like, I guess traditionally that style has to do with, like, the old Van Gogh days where it was like paintings actually had the texture to them, where you would just like layer the oil paintings on top of each other, so it actually would create like a slight 3D effect to it. Oh, which I'm just like, okay. How does that? I was like, how does that work for 2D animation? But when you look at it, it looks layered, and I think that's part of what the design is of what makes it so aesthetically interesting. Is that you look and you're like, it looks like you took brushstrokes over and over and over and over again on each of these characters. I was looking at Heimerdinger. Yeah. I was looking at like his hair on like his mustache and stuff. Yes. And it looks like individual brushstrokes to do each section of like the fuzz on his face. And I was just like, oh God, okay. That's the other thing too, is like everyone's aesthetic in the show too. Everyone's look. I'm just like, I want to dress like them. No, I want to dress like them. No, I want to look like that. No, I want to look like that. I really want to look like that person. No, never mind. Wait, hold on a second. I mean, I'm going to buy Vi's jacket at some point. Yeah. That is going to happen. I want that leather jacket. That thing looks fucking sweet.
They all look great.
They all look great. Like I said, there's no missed look or moment or anything like that.
I like that it's kind of varied too. You know, all of them are very like different, you know, and especially like you have like Piltover, which is like the like... You'd say the more affluent town, the more affluent region, and then you have Zon. Yeah. And those are two very different aesthetics. But then you also have like other characters that come from other regions too.
That
like,
also have their own look.
That also have their own
too.
Exactly. And they look incredible too.
Yeah.
You have Heimerdinger, who's like this tiny little... He's not human, right?
He's not human. Like,
he's who knows? And then
I forget what they're called, but there is like a name for like that.
Yeah. And everybody is so vastly different, but so intriguing and so interesting in their own way.
Which is a cool thing too, is that it's like what I like about the show was that like the plot is fairly simple. Is that it's like you're basically upper crust versus like the lower like yeah.
And there's like a little rebellion moment happening, and
it's a show about the class dynamic and how that like right. But there's, I would say, very few characters in the show are people where I'm just kind of like, no, I just don't agree with anything about what you're trying to do here.
Oh, I see
like
what you're saying.
Perspective wise, everyone is very represented, including the arguably who is the main villain of the main antagonist of the show, which is Silco. Is a fascinating character. So good. Yeah. Also, I don't remember his name, but that voice actor is on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And he just spent his TikTok reacting to people, like, doing cosplays and impressions of his characters.
Oh.
And he just seems like a really fucking cool dude. So I just wanted to shout that out real quick. He seemed like a cool guy. Like, just...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
And just the voice acting cast, too. Like, going from talking about Vox Machina to talking about these guys.
Yeah, no.
It's like same caliber and pedigree.
So
it's just
great.
like, holy crap.
Not a single flop in the bunch.
The one that I knew that was that I went like, the moment that made me go, I'm going to be obsessed with this show. Weirdly enough, for the moment that it is just like, when the moment the show moves me emotionally in a certain way, I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm fucking in on this thing.
Yeah.
And it was I think it's the third episode. Vi tells who's then Powder that she has to stay behind while they go and rescue Vandrin.
Yes, Vander.
Yeah. And then they go off, and then you cut back to Powder, who was just in the middle of a full-blown meltdown.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was the first time I saw just like that true, like, child, like, I have no control over this. There's nothing I can do. And just like, and also hints to like, there's something a little, I was trying to find the right way to kind of put this.
It's like the seed of discord. It's like the seed
of discord
of like something bad. Like if we don't take care of this just right, something's gonna go really bad here.
Happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But also just kind of like, man, kid, I feel you, because like I've obviously not in that exact situation, but like I remember being a child and feeling this way. And when it's just even in simple things, just kind of like, no, you can't go play with the big kids. No, you can't go do this right now. And just like that, like, but I don't understand why I can't.
Right.
And just like, but also like the crushing feeling of like, especially with a character like her, and just dealing with just kind of like, everyone thinks I'm a screw up. Everything I do just seems to make things worse. Like, and just having that like pressure build on yourself too was just like, oh, and I felt bad from Powder all the way through, with Jinx all the way through. Yeah.
The transition from Powder to Jinx it's cool because we don't get to see it, you know?
Yeah. You just do that hard time jump.
Yeah, it's just a hard time jump, which I thought was really cool. I thought it, you know, because...
Oh, it's a great idea. So, it's a great way to do it.
So Arcane's broken down into 9 episodes, and I think you could look at each of, like, sets of 3 episodes as an act. The first 3 episodes are, like, Act 1, and that's, like, their childhood and, like, the setup for everything that happens later. Yeah. And then you have the next 3 episodes, and then the back 3.
I would almost argue that like each episode is like one act of what is traditionally like a 3-act like formula.
Oh, you could look at it that way too.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could look at it that way too. Absolutely. But that being said, so between episode 3 and episode 4, we have this big time jump. And everybody grows up. Vi goes off and does her own thing. Powder becomes Jinx.
Yeah.
And we get to see that all happening. And then we have the, like, Resistance, what are they called? They have a name for the group. The Firelights, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Firelights or Fireflies, one of the two.
I think it's Firelights.
I think it's Firelights. But yeah.
But, headed up by Echo.
Who is
so great.
A fucking boy.
So cool.
A badass.
Yes. But let's talk about Jinx. So Jinx but like Jinx, racked by trauma, deals with a whole lot of fucking shit. But gets taken in by the like main antagonist.
Yeah. Which is also the fascinating part to me, is that like they make a point to be like, no, Silco legitimately gives a shit about Jinx.
Yes, and that's
like actually cares about Jinx. Like this isn't like the normal like power dynamic, like ultimately abusive relationship. Like it's an unhealthy relationship because the way that they handle things, and the way that Silco just continues to give Jinx a pass on everything that she does. But like it's a caring relationship, and it's also like I was very happy to see that the show go in the direction of like paternal rather than like the way that it could also go with something like that, which would have been gross. Like it was really nice to see a show like. Not shy away, but just like be like, we don't have to go there.
Yeah, no, that was nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Like the way that I am very attracted to a lot of people on this show, but no one is like overtly sexualized on this show.
Jordan,
I know.
On this show?
Yeah.
Jordan.
Listen. We're both married, all right? No, but I mean, like, Arcane is another one of those shows that I put in the category of, like, made for bisexuals and pansexuals. Because I'm just kind of like, the menu we have.
The bisexual gaze is strong.
It is very strong on this show.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking here for it. Don't get me wrong. Even characters that I don't like in the show, I'm like, okay, but you're cute. Like,
Smash.
yeah. Smash. There'd be no point in me playing Smash or Pass on Arcane. Like,
just hard slamming Smash.
Just like, yes. Yes. Show me who, yes. There's not going to be a no on here, okay?
Heimerdinger.
Yes. How old is Heimerdinger?
The experience.
Exactly. He knows what he's doing at this point,
Experience
all right?
queen.
Come on now. Come on. What are you talking about here?
Oh, man.
Mustache tickles in just the right place. Anyway.
I can't with you. We were talking about these incredible characters.
Yeah.
And some of the really, really cool moments that we have. We were talking about Silco. Do you want to talk about Silco's like final moment? Spoilers ahead.
Yeah, maybe
if that wasn't clear.
Spoilers if you haven't gotten that from this thing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, turn this off now and go watch Arcane. Like, there's no, you will not be disappointed.
Go watch it.
It will not be
9
disappointed.
episodes. You can get through it in a couple of nights. Just go do it.
And it's totally worth it. And it's just like, yeah, it's just an incredible fucking show. Yeah, Silco's like last moments where it's just like, I was really expecting that to go the other way. Like really, really go. So like the basic setup at the end of the show was that Jinx is kind of at, it's sort of like the crossroads moment for her character. It's like, do I go this way or do I go this way?
Yeah.
And she's got Vi, Caitlyn, and Silco all strapped to chairs in this like fake like family dinner thing that she has set up. It gets
Very
the
like
show
Mad
is
Tea
bleak.
Party. Very like Mad Tea Party.
Very Mad Tea Party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I likened it to like a family dinner because she's also got the fake like setup.
Yes,
for,
the effigies of her deceased friends.
Of her deceased friends.
Maybe unalived, yeah.
She didn't intentionally
Not intentionally,
get them
no.
killed, but like
she
it
didn't,
was
no. But she killed them.
But which is one of the notes that I have for Jinx is that I'm kind of like, she's wrong for the most part, but I feel a lot of sympathy for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, in this final moment, and she's just kind of like, I don't know how else to describe it, and then just trying to be like, okay, who here actually gives a shit about me? Because it's like, she's contested because Vi has gotten very, very close to this other character, Caitlyn, throughout, and that has caused like a rift between her and Vi. There was already a big like gap between them, like emotionally and personally and whatnot, that happened before.
Also not seeing each other for years.
And years and years and years. But seeing that that Vi had become close with somebody who was from what's the fucking the upper city, Piltover. Thank you. Somebody else from becoming very close with somebody from Piltover when she has been with Silco for this long and just living in the Undercity with the understanding it's kind of like anybody from up there that hates you, they're horrible, they want you dead, blah 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 blah.
Right.
Which is not entirely incorrect with the way that they kind of have the attitude about people from the Undercity, but then also dealing with the fact that Silco was at one point, from her perspective, debating selling her out to people from Piltover because they were just kind of like, what's his name? The one guy who got put on the council really young. Jace, thank you. Basically went to Silco and said, give us Jinx and you can have your own city. We'll leave you guys alone. We'll just let you be independent and we'll split off. And she watched Silco like kind of like struggle with this is all I've ever wanted, but is it worth giving up Jinx for that? And the way Jinx kind of took this moment was like, oh, he's going to screw me over. So in the last moments, in the final moments for him, he manages to kind of like get out of his restraints. Looks like he's going to shoot Vi. Jinx makes a snap decision, shoots Silco so that way she can save Vi. And literally Silco's final breaths are him saying, I was never going to sell you out.
Yeah.
Which is just like, it would have been an easier pill to swallow as an audience member if they just had him go like, you were always just a pawn in my game, I never gave a shit, blah, 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 blah. But it's his last moments where he literally is just like, it's okay, I understand why you did this, just so you know, I was never going to sell you out, And it's kind of like, stop making him sympathetic. Stop making me like feel bad for this guy who has just been a fucking villain this whole time. And like, don't get me wrong, Silco is a horrible human being. Like, there's no getting around it. He's a bad fucking person. Because that like paternal relationship and that caring relationship only goes so far to like a small circle of people. Because everybody else is expendable to Silco.
Absolutely.
And you see that time and time and time and time again throughout the show.
Yeah.
But just like, and I'm not saying that makes him something else the show does too is that no one is like fully redeemed by the end of the show.
No.
But you don't walk away from the show going like, oh, well, I hate this person or I hate this person or da-da-da-da-da.
No.
For the most part, you know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's people I feel less empathy towards.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people on the council, I don't feel a ton of sympathy for.
Yeah.
The corrupt cop who was in Silco's pocket.
Right.
Not a lot there. Like, he had a kid, and I feel bad for that. But beyond that, I'm just kind of like, nah, you were kind of racist out the gate. So, like...
Most of the council members are, like... self-centered and
very self-serving. They're only there for like themselves, like
and just kind of irredeemable.
Yeah.
And then there's like the couple that they actually focus on, like Jace.
Yeah.
And then the lady whose name escapes.
I can't remember her fucking name either.
Melisandre, something like that.
Melisandre is from Game of Thrones. I know that for sure. Melisandre is from Game of Thrones.
That's why I can't watch two things at once.
Can't even keep it in order when you're not watching two things at once. Nope. Yep. But yeah, I would say something else for like a favorite moment for me to kind of jump a little bit here is just anytime Vi fights anyone in the show. Like all the action sequences are incredibly well done, and like a highlight for me is definitely Echo's fight with Jinx that he has in that moment is so aesthetically pleasing.
Cool. Yeah,
but just Vi's fight scenes are it's something I've only seen in action movies done really well a couple times. Like John Wick, an old Jet Li movie called Unleashed are some good examples to me of just fights that look really, really brutal and like you could feel the hits, but are still very aesthetically pleasing to watch. Like, just like, yes, this looks like it hurts like hell, but you're still gonna have a lot of fun watching this fight scene. And just like insanely well done moments. Like any of her fights with the other character who ends up with a robot arm. Like both of her fights with her. I don't remember her name. Savika, thank you. Yeah. Her fights with her are just like some of the highlights of the fucking show to me.
In terms of like, but I can't remember. God, sorry.
It's okay.
What was I gonna say? I really like the fight where I don't remember exactly what they're doing, but Vi is fighting with Jace, who's got the fuck off hammer.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Oh, another example too in that fight too, of just like how
that fight had something for everybody too.
No, it's true, but just like that moment is like a good example of how the show will like just take that slight left turn on you that you like weren't expecting a little bit. It's like, to me, it's that one and the example that we talked about a little bit with where you think the setup for it is that it's the first 3 episodes. Powder's gonna go save the day finally and redeem herself,
right,
and save everybody and whatnot. Can completely fucks it all up.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with that fight with Vi and Jace, where it's just kind of like, you think it's kind of like, this is the redeeming hero moment for everybody. They're gonna go take care of the corruption and whatnot, and then hits a kid with his fucking blast.
Yeah,
and just you watch him just like stop, and everything just stops. The music, the sound, everything just goes, nope, we're done right now.
They really know how to like marry a moment.
Yes,
like. Everything is always working in conjunction with each other. It's a symphony, not all a bunch of things working, separate of each other.
Yeah. Well, it was something that was cool that there's another person I follow on YouTube that I suggest people go follow their stuff too. It's a guy named Nerd Writer 1. He does like video essays and whatnot. And in one video I watched that I really liked, he was talking about the comparison between he was talking about scenes versus moments, and about how like really, really good writers write a scene and you find really good moments within that scene. Whereas like sometimes people who don't know what they're doing, they'll kind of have an idea for something they want in a scene, and they'll kind of write the scene around that one moment. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it kind of makes it messy.
Yeah. I
feel like for me, at least with Arcane, they just either they hit it really well, or they were like. There was, to me, the formula would be like, stick with formula, go with it, because it's a very established formula for the most part as far as the show works. But then just every once in a while, like that, the moment with Powder and a few other moments, it just goes, we're actually going to go this way now, though, and see where that takes us. And I think that's where the show can kind of verge off into interesting areas, because that's when you have Vi, or that's when you have Jace going like, we're done, we're not doing this anymore. We're not gonna go and just keep fighting fucking people and whatnot. And Vi is just sitting there going like, I'm sorry, this is like the first dead kid you've seen? dude, where the fuck have you been?
Yeah.
And that to me is a prime example of like the perspective in the show that you get, because I'm like, I don't fully disagree or agree with like either one of you right now.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I get it, Jace, you killed a kid, but also like, she's just calling you out on your fucking privilege right now, bro. Like, that's what's happening here. But also, you just killed a kid, so I can't blame you for feeling like shit right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just really, really well done. Like, I think that's the biggest compliment that I can get to the show is like, no character was left to be like, well, we don't need to represent them as well. Like, we don't need to give them a perspective. We don't need to give them like an established feeling in the world that they're like real and a part of this and whatnot. Mm-hmm. The only thing for the show that I would say is it kind of took me out for a little bit, and I get why it's there, would be Imagine Dragons like actual cameo in the show.
I didn't get that either. I was like, is this?
It's just, I get on a grander scale, because like something I also appreciate about the show when doing its research, it's been everyone who worked on this show has been working in some capacity with these characters and with like, because if you know anything about League of Legends, like they've been releasing music videos and songs and stuff like for characters in the games and stuff like that forever. And it's been the same animation studio out of France, as it turns out, actually. Can't remember what they're called, but that has been working with the League of Legends crew.
That's really cool.
Yeah, for doing stuff like that. And Imagine Dragons has been working with League of Legends for doing songs for them since like shit started out the gate, from what I know.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, so it's a long.
It's not like out of the blue.
No,
Yeah.
it's a long time relationship they've had. So like, as far as I know, them appearing in the show was a little nod to be like, hey, you guys blew the fuck up, but you still hung out with us.
Like, you've been...
So thanks. Like you've been cool. So like we're gonna put you in the show as like a little like thank you for doing that and whatnot. Yeah. So I get it, but it is a moment where you're like, why are we just stopping to give glory shots to Imagine Dragons right now?
Right.
Like,
I don't think they need the promo. Like,
yeah, like they're good, but no, it was more of a thank you to like, hey, you guys have been you made the title song for us. You've been making music for us for like years and whatnot. We really appreciate it. Here's our little nod to you and whatnot.
That's really cool.
And that also takes me to like a main point that I think is what puts the show above a lot of other video game adaptations, is that this was made by people who gave a shit.
Yeah.
And like gave all of the shits. Like, every single shit was given by these people.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, and sometimes stuff won't work if you hand it off to somebody else, but, like, for the most part, in Hollywood, something, the rights will go for something, a script will get written by someone who didn't give a shit, it'll get passed out to somebody else who's like, this is just how I'm gonna make my break in Hollywood and start my career and whatnot. Don't actually give too much of a crap about this. Whereas, like, with this, it was just, like, it was the same crew that's been working on the characters for League of Legends that they started the game. It's the animation studio that's been doing all the music videos for them. It was made by people who have been, like, either fans of or have, like, been working with these guys for, like, fucking ever. Mm-hmm. So, it's just, like, when you manage to keep it somewhat in-house like that, and I'm not saying that everything has to be, like, I'm not saying, because I know Netflix is doing a live-action Resident Evil series right now, apparently. Huh. To which I'm just kind of like, okay. I'm wary. I'm hopeful, but I'm very, very wary. Mm-hmm. Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
How I've kind of run my whole life. But yeah, and again, I'm not saying you have to keep it like with the same people the whole time who have started and whatnot, because sometimes people who write for video games can't write for TV, or they can't write for movies. Like sometimes you can't just like jump genres like that. Yeah. It doesn't always work. But like at the very least, give it to people who are like passionate about it and want to make sure that it stays good. And it's not just like a stepping stone for them to make their career off and whatnot. Because especially with video games, for me, it's like you have such, and you know, we've talked about it before that it's just kind of like you can be a dedicated fan and that's great, but just understand that like whatever it is you're a fan of is not yours. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it with like respect to certain expectations of something like that. Yeah. And I think for the most part and from what I've seen, at least with Arcane, as far as like people who are fans of the original game
of League of Legends,
they see the changes, and there's like, from what I know, pretty big changes, like character wise.
Sure,
or, like, from
I would imagine there would have to be.
From what I originally know, from like way originally started and whatnot, but no one I've talked to has been like, oh, well, they ruined this character when they did this and blah blah blah. I think people just kind of want it to be good.
Yeah.
and that like they know that somebody gave a crap about making sure that like, you know, the tone, the idea, all that stuff was like taken into consideration when they did an adaptation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just, I don't know, give stuff to people who care, because it works. It clearly fucking works when you do that. Like, and people who are capable, obviously.
Oh, yeah. That's helpful.
But yeah, huge. Just, I can't say enough about how much of a fan of this fucking show that I am.
Me either.
Despite knowing little to nothing about the original game series.
Oh, I knew less than little. Yeah. I knew slim to nothing.
I only know a bit because the wife is a fan of the games, who was also somebody else who told me to watch the show. She had an interesting thing too, where she kept telling me, it's kind of like, so you're going to see like little nods here and there that might take you out of it. Like, oh, why did they focus on this? Why did they do a close-up on that? Da-da-da-da. I was like, again, other than the hard cut to Imagine Dragons, nothing else like took me out of the show. And they go like, why did they show that?
No.
Or if there was something, I was able to like put two and two together. Like when they first showed like the gauntlets, I was like, okay, yeah, I know that's another that's like, from the game. Like that's not like
yeah. But like also that's just like a moment. Like they just need to show the gauntlets.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
So I love that tie-in that it's just like these weren't made to be weapons originally. They were to help with mining.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's so, oh my god.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Such a clever little comment on like our industrial complex in America and whatnot. That things that originally started off like just to be there to help can turn into fucking weapons that are meant to kill people, which was Heimerdinger's entire fucking point.
Right.
Didn't think I was going to end the show. That's the one thing I will say. I didn't think I was going to end the show going like, oh fuck, I 100% agree with Heimerdinger on this shit. Wow.
Right, because he had the stance of like, maybe we shouldn't develop magic and technology together because that'll be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's also old enough to remember that, like, when we've done it before,
right,
it
there were
ended
wars.
in fucking wars.
Right,
like,
huge wars fought. Right, which we as an audience know, like, well, that's what we're ramping up for.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So, like...
Yeah, especially considering the last shot of the show...
is I could write a dissertation
on just that last
on
moment,
the last fucking shot of the show. Like
it's literally Jinx pulls out a fucking rocket launcher that looks like a shark. To which you're mixed because like you just got done with all the shit with Silco, and then she pulls this out, and you kind of know what she's gonna go do. So you're also like, that's fucking cool. I'm still emotionally wrecked here. Wait, what is she doing? Like, it's a lot happening emotionally for you as an audience member in that moment.
And it's like, it's not even a gun, it's like a bazooka.
It's a bazooka. It is a rocket launcher.
Rocket launcher, yeah.
Yeah. And she takes it and points it at where she knows like the council for everyone else is at. Literally, as they're making the decision, literally as Jace is making a speech about how they have failed people in the Undercity.
Yeah.
Literally as he's finally accepting responsibility.
We're finally coming around.
He's getting everyone on the council to fucking come around. Woof! Just gets hit.
And it's not... The thing is that the shot cuts at just the perfect time because it's not even the, like, impact. It's not the explosion.
No.
It's literally, like, the bullet or the rocket or whatever coming, making contact with the window, and it's painted to look like a shark head or something, right?
Yeah.
And it makes impact with the window, and the window fractures, and then you see multiple reflected images of the face from the rocket, and that's it. I could write a dissertation on.
Oh yeah,
good.
Which was the one thing I didn't jump into when like researching this. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a ton of stuff online as far as like behind the scenes and interviews. I found a little bit of an interview with some of the writers and whatnot. But like everything else was like video essay breakdowns on like everything, and I was just like, okay, I'll get into that. But for right now, I want to focus on what you've actually made it talking about and whatnot. But
right,
yeah, I don't know. It's
so good. Go watch this show.
It's really
can't tell you enough. Go watch this show. And then, if you really, really like it, maybe go play League of Legends.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Give it a shot. It's a MOBA. So if you know that MOBAs are not your thing, then okay, maybe give it a miss. But if you're like, well, I could fuck with a MOBA, then maybe give it a shot. It's one of like the longest running MOBAs, if not the longest running, right?
It's been around for a long time. I don't know if it's the longest running one, but it's been around for a minute.
It's probably the best.
Probably at least one of the most well known ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like established as far as like people who play MOBAs are like, no, this is a really, really fucking good one.
Yeah.
So go watch Arcane, man. That's kind of what this is. This is a big marketing pitch for Arcane. A show that's been out for like, what, a year and a half now or something like that?
No, not that long. It's
been around for a minute, though. Like, at this point, talking about it, it's been around for a little while.
Not more than
whatever
months.
Google's about to tell you.
Not more than 6 months.
I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna say 8 months. It's been out at least.
November 6th. November, December, January, February, March. 4 months.
4 months. It's only been around for 4 months. Well then, why does that feel like so long? Oh, because time doesn't matter anymore. That's right. Yeah.
On April 6th, it'll be 5 months.
Right. Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
if that makes you feel a little bit better, but
it does.
But
I just forgot that time isn't a thing anymore.
No,
so
time is fake.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Time is unreal.
So
we're
good.
So are birds. Birds are fake.
Birds are fake.
Yeah.
Well, they're not. Well, it's like there used to be birds, but now they're all robots that are
right.
sent to spy on us. Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. COVID was also fake in order so the government can change the batteries out of the birds.
COVID was fake?
Yeah, it was all fake. It was all a front so they could change the batteries in their robot birds.
We've really gone off the rails here. Let's just go.
Well, that's all the time we have today, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our episode about Arcane. Please let us know what you thought about the show.
Also, if you have any ideas for future episodes, future topics that we can cover, you can send us an email at 3vopodcastteam@gmail.com and you can give us your ideas. You can also find us on every social media site that you can think of. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're all on there at 3VO Podcast. So go make sure that you follow us on all of those. You can interact with us. We'll talk to you. We're pretty small, so we'll talk to you. But make sure that you comment, like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Please do.
All of that great stuff.
Yeah.
It really makes a difference. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.